work came to Tallahassee, there was this vision of how do we not only help young people have career ideation into these different pathways and fields of work, but how can we also equip them with the opportunity to learn about how it's actually going to be like in those professions? So right off the bat, I want to say that this is not an opportunity for you to get like a free childcare worker or someone to flip burgers or whatever it might be, although those are all fine summer jobs. What we're really trying to do is expose young people to what it could be like in these different professions. So as we talk through what you might design or when you see requirements for a syllabus and what that means, it's simply because we want to have and curate experiences for young people that are helpful for you by doing project-based learning, but also enabling them to be something a little bit more than answering phones or running and like grabbing your coffee. That said, all of those functions are still things that have to happen, and so there is an allowance for some of that, what we call busy work, in the application process. But really and truly, what we're trying to do is be an extension of Worlds of Work and really help young people, specifically targeting very specific neighborhoods, to let them know that there are opportunities. And yes, the Children's Services Council will pay for it. There are similar programs that operate here in Leon County with our partners at the city and the county, where they place young people in divisions of their business, of their government. So at the city of Tallahassee or at Leon County government, you might have someone that's working in their communications office or working in their fiscal department or working in transportation, and placing them all around in different areas so that they can get these experiences. Well, no one really tapped in or has to this point tapped into that private sector businesses. And that's really where we're coming in to say, Children's Services Council, we don't have all of these different departments, but we have amazing partners, whether they're for-profit, nonprofit, human services, or otherwise, or complete private industry. We want to invite you to the table to host a young person. So thank you for showing interest. If you have not yet completed your interest form, I'll show you where to go specifically today to do that, or just respond to Annie's email. That's also a very great way of getting that in. But I just want to give you a quick overview of what the young people will be doing and where you can go to find information. So if you go to the CSC website, I'm going to share my screen briefly. It's first probably going to pop up Worlds of Work in case you have not, if you're not familiar with Worlds of Work, you can come here to help you self-identify the various different worlds that you might self-identify with your organization. But if you go to our website, cscleon.org, under Family Resources, you'll find the Summer Youth Internship Program. If you click on that, it will load and give you information. Hopefully it will load. It will give you information about the program. So we are paying young people $14 to $15 per hour. That comes out of our budget, not yours in any way, shape, or form, to be placed with you 18 to 22 hours per week for 6 to 7 weeks, depending upon whatever your schedule works out to be. Now, it says on here June 3rd through August 2nd, but if you keep scrolling down to the finer details for partners, which is you, it will show you that what we're really looking for is June 10th through August 2nd. And that is because we are going to spend a full 20 to 24 hours with them the week before, so the week of June 3rd through the 7th, doing orientation work with them. This will include things like workplace communication, professional dress, as well as measuring some of their soft skills that they might have or some of their digital skills with some of our program partners. It will also give them the opportunity to learn very specific things like how to do their timesheet. What does financial literacy look like? Making sure that they actually have bank accounts set up so that we can pay them. All of that will be done before they come on site with you. In addition, during that week, we will also ask that whoever you have identified to be the supervisor of this particular position, that you come join us for lunch on that Tuesday. So you have an opportunity to meet the young person that you're going to be matched with, as well as have that young person meet you so that they're not showing up deer in headlights on the first day, not knowing anyone. This will give them that opportunity to create that bond before they come in. It will also give you the opportunity to learn how to do your portion of the timesheet approval process. All of that will be handled by our third-party partner, Skybridge Resources. So the gist of designing a internship program, not only saying where will they work, what will they be doing, what times, dates, all of that, but we really want to have you lean in on this concept that it's project based with learning goals structured into the experience. So what we mean by that is thinking through the tasks and the objectives that you want them to complete from start to finish of their placement with you. And thinking a little bit deeper about something other than just filling a space or filling a role. So it's less like a temporary position and more like a specific short-term project that you might have them complete. We also really want to encourage that as you're designing the experience, that you're giving them the opportunity to learn all aspects of the workforce. So that if you have a large organization with various different departments, maybe they're placed in a particular department, maybe it's your fiscal department, and you're hoping for someone that's interested perhaps in accounting, or they really enjoy math, and they're in that department, but you want to expose them to the other different departments that you have. So thinking through that exchange opportunity or networking opportunities that are built into your organization. Many of the young people, and I will say that we received 113 applications. So we know that we're going to have to turn some away because we don't have the funds for that and 113 willing partners to take this on. As we are moving forward and kind of growing with this program, having the young people being able to go to networking events with you or being exposed to leadership opportunities. So their supervisor might be the direct supervisor, but if there's opportunities in the 6 to 7 weeks for them to meet the CEO of your business or organization or your department lead, even though that might not be the person they're working with directly, but building that into their experience so that they can learn those finer networking opportunities and skills. Once it completes around August 2nd, maybe August 3rd, if you have Saturday events or something like that, we will be doing a culmination ceremony or a graduation ceremony on Thursday, August 8th. And for those young people who make it through and complete their entire placement and then do a culminating project at the end, they'll be invited to not only graduate, but that supervisor, that agency who successfully completes a young person will also receive a stipend. And so once you've completed your program as the partner, you'll receive an incentive bonus from us as a thank you. How you use that is completely up to you. We won't dictate any of that, but it's a thank you for hosting and successfully guiding this young person through. So that's kind of the overview of what it looks like. There is a link here that my insurance provider would get mad at me if I didn't point to, and that is the rules and regulations of youth employment, which basically says if they were in high school, like if they were in school during the school year, that there's a lot of parameters about how long their shift can be and when their shifts can be. Because it's over the summer, there is a lot more flexibility, but then does have a long list of things that they cannot do. So for example, if you were working in a construction trade and there is heavy machinery, the young people cannot drive your heavy machinery. So there cannot be anything that it poses extraordinary risks to youth. Timeline-wise, you would just click on this button to submit your host request. It will open it up into a JOT form, and all of the questions are right here. And if you can host more than one intern, you can do 2 interns, let us know. And then it'll just guide you through some very basic questions as you're thinking through this position. You will have to identify that world of work. That's this section right here. And it might be the same for both positions if you're hosting two. It might be different for either or. That's perfectly fine. You can delineate that here. And then there's just some questions that will be listed out here for you, including a brief description. Now, I wanted to just point this part out because it does say a full syllabus will be due on May 24th. And that is where Annie will come in to be able to help and guide questions about what that might look like to get that fully developed. But the first step is completing this form no later than May 7th. And that will then start our commitment process in the beginning of us doing a matching between the students and the workforce partners that we have. And with that, I would like to actually just open the floor to specific questions.
I just wanted to let everyone know that I dropped the link to the page that Holly was on in the chat.
Thanks, Annie. One of the questions I received in the private chat, I don't know if they're still on, was about background screening. And so I will say that every employee that or every intern that is placed with you will go through a preliminary background screening. As you can imagine, these are young people, so they're not very extensive, and they are only what we know as level 1. I noticed that there's a couple I say a couple, there's 2 school-related entities on with us here today, Brownsville and Leon County Schools. So I'll mention this in case it applies to anyone else. If the services that your organization or business provide have direct and immediate contact with young people that they could potentially be unsupervised or something like that, know that our background screening is what we call a level 1 background screening. It is not a full level 2 background screening. And I would hope that you weren't for many of the youth, this will be their very first job. So thinking about access to sensitive information or financial information or any of that security, we're not doing the extensive background screening on these young people, but rather just that level 1.
Is it possible, because any place that has children does require, I'm sorry, this is Rita Brown, does require a level 2 background screening. Will CSE just either compensate us for getting the level 2 done, or does CSE have an ability to just require or request a level 2?
So if that is something that the position requires for you, that would be the business's responsibility. That would not be covered under this. So if you receive a match, you will have that ability early on to get, once you have the name confirmed and the match has been announced, that you can do that background screening on your own.
Okay. Also, and you might have said this already, I might have missed it, I came in late. Are they being paid through you all and your payroll system, or are they being paid through us and our payroll systems?
They are being paid through our payroll system. You will not have to do a thing.
Okay.
So their resume is processed through them. Their W-9 is processed through them. They'll receive their W-4 at the end of or at the beginning of next year, directly through our HR and payroll processor. There are a few requirements that the students will have to do. All of that will happen before they get to you. The only requirement in terms of paying the youth is that whoever your supervisor is will have to do their weekly confirmation of approving their timesheet. Every intern will be using the same timesheet system. So you don't have to come up with a timesheet on your own. They will all have to have access to that timesheet system. We're working with them to ensure that they have adequate transportation and access to the internet for every single intern so that they're able to complete that timesheet. It just will require that you, whoever your assigned supervisor is, will log in to approve that timesheet, or send it back to the young person, to the youth for revisions. And then our system handles everything. So you won't have to get any of their W-2 information or their banking institution information, none of that. That's handled all on our side.
And one last question. Do these young people, because they will be at our CSC site, require CPR first aid? I don't see why they should, because we have so many people that will have the CPR first aid, and that would not be something that would be left up to them.
I think that's a great question. And I think that if you're offering training to other staff while you have your intern there and they would like to earn that certification, that is something that by all means your business could host. That would not be an expense that the summer internship program would cover. So you want to treat them just like any other employee. From your perspective, however, they're temporary. They are paid for and assigned, and coming from another entity. So if you'd like to offer that and the students are interested, or if that's part of your syllabus that they will become CPR certified, that would be at your expense. So I would, based on that, and I realize I said that there's no expense to you. Well, technically there is an expense to you. You need to house them, not house them, but give them working space, right? So you will be required for, providing that wherever they're going to be working, that environment for which they're going to be working, having access to whatever tools that they need to function in the roles that you've assigned. If part of their role is office management and you need them to do digital filing, clearly they'll need access to a computer and a login and things like that. They will receive training on data security, and just how not to, for example, go on inappropriate websites if on a work computer. They're going to have all that training up front, in terms of understanding their digital footprint and understanding what's appropriate on the job, and not, how to dress appropriately, how to speak appropriately, in a professional setting. They're going to get all of those soft skill development before they enter your site. However, you might have some uniqueness. So again, if you have sensitive information or you're working with sensitive populations, you might have to do some of your own onboard training that first week, which we highly recommend, even just having them have an orientation to your organization. Well, we're going to cover some of that basic skill building stuff to go into any workplace. Each of them will be unique to yours as well.
Very good. Thank you.
Of course. Great questions. Thanks, Ms. Brown. Other questions that folks have?
Hi, this is Lisa Heil at Southern Scholarship Foundation. I was just wondering if you all have a deadline that you will be notifying employers if they are able to host an intern, and then also, do you have an idea of how many you are going to be placing?
Yes, that's a fantastic question. Thank you, Ms. Lisa. So the application deadline to host an intern is May 7th. I don't know if Annie, if you just dropped all this in here or if this was someone's AI that just dropped a whole bunch of stuff in the chat. But yes, so it is May 7th for employers to turn in their initial interest form or commitment form. So that is letting us know I'm in and I want a placement. We're going to take that information and we're going to match based on your application, your world of work, some of the minimum identified kind of skills that you're looking for. And for many of you, we're hoping that some of them will be like very basic because, again, some of our young people, they've never worked before. This is their first job. Some of them have worked at community centers. I must have saw Sue McCullum Community Park on like 4 or 5 of the different applications that came through. Some have babysat, some have helped their parents in home-based businesses, things like that. But for many of them, this is that first experience. Our goal is to spend the week of May, 10th through the 17th that week, doing that matching process and then notifying families on May 18th, or notifying the youth on May 18th as well as the businesses. So we would announce the match then. You would then have about 10 or about a week from the 17th, 17th or 18th through May 24th to complete your internship syllabus. And what that is your scheduled plan, kind of going over what you want to accomplish each week with the young person, so that you have that ready. Now you can tweak it as you go, but you have a plan, a schedule ready for that when they come in, to give them that project-based learning experience that we're looking for. Annie, I think we have, do we have samples from our Project Bridge training that we hosted? I think we have some samples that the team at the Talent Development Council can share out if you've never considered one of those syllabus, an internship syllabus before. We call it a syllabus. I kind of put it in air quotes because in essence, it's just a work plan for the young person that shows us you have an idea and that they're not just going to be floundering, so that they can have the best possible experience. So Lisa, I hope that oh, and then the last part of your question was, we have funding to support up to 60 young people. Our goal is 50, but we can go all the way up to 60 if we have all of the business partners willing to host. And so
Great, thank you.
absolutely, Lisa. And I think Corey mentioned earlier, and it's in the handout, that if you have the opportunity to take 2, then we strongly encourage that as well. And the interest thus far with the young people, it covers all of the worlds. Many of them said, any world, I just want anything. But some of them are very specific. They're like, I want to work in healthcare. I want to work in engineering. I want to work in banking. So there's definitely a lot of interest in from a lot of different students in our community.
Hi, my name's Mary. I'm from the Tallahassee Symphony. I had a question about the business host application. So sorry if you already answered it, but it looks like the questions that regarding a second internship position are required. But what if you can only do one?
Annie?
There should be an option at the top that filters out those extra questions in case you don't need a second intern. It says that I'm hiring for 2 separate positions and different supervisors.
Okay, so when you click one, it'll filter. Okay, thank you.
I'm just testing it now. Yep, as soon as I clicked one intern, all the second stuff just disappeared.
Great, I'm seeing that as well. Thank you.
Handy, Annie. Any other questions? There's happy to answer any of them at all. Well, hearing none, then we have recorded this session. We will post this up on our website, and I'm sure as well as at the chamber and with our other partners. Again, the due date for your host applications is May 7th. We will be announcing the matches on May 18th. And yes, I'm fully aware that that is a Saturday. When I talk to the young people, that's when they're checking their phones. And many of them are texters. And so you'll see a question on their application as well as your application. The number that you provide for the supervisor, do you text? Because that is a way that many of the students communicate. Of the 113 applications, only 6 indicated that they were going to need help with transportation. So we're fully prepared to help those young people get to and from and solve that themselves. And again, May 7th is the day that your applications are due. Annie is available to you. Annie, I know that some of them have gotten their emails, an email from you, but if you wanted to just drop your email address in the chat, so that if they have questions as our business partners, please feel free to reach out to Annie and ask any questions about designing your syllabus or designing your experience or any of that.
I can find the example that you mentioned and possibly attach it in the follow-up notes to this.
That'd be great. Well, I'll hang on for a few more minutes. I know we're right at 3. It's kind of short and simple. And hopefully, if you have any additional questions, you'll reach out to us and let us know. And I'll turn it back over to Corey. Thanks.
I think that takes care of it for me too. Thank you again, everyone. And Annie, did you get, yep, Annie's got her email address in there. We will get the notes to you on this. We'll post the recording on the CSE website right there where Holly just showed you, and possibly also load the sample template that you could use for the syllabus right there, so you have access to it. And if any of you have one that you have already used and think it would be great for everybody else, feel free to share with Annie, because we're all about helping each other out here. So let's make it as easy, but as much as we can to help each other. So thank you, everyone, and reach out if you have questions. And the sooner you get those applications in, the better. Holly, please stay on a second, Holly.
This is Denisha with Uranus Haven. So just a question, I guess, because our business is a bit different where, we don't have like an office or a law office or something like that, where we do like a lot of wedding and event planning and that kind of thing. I guess, is there any advice or kind of a way to structure it? I mean, obviously we do like our weddings and stuff on the weekend and there's prep for that, but should we be trying to find a space or a place for them to like come throughout the week or the time that we're not doing events, or kind of what's the best way to tackle it, or just to make sure like it's, most engaging for them?
That's a really, really, really great question. And I've actually received a similar question of, we're completely virtual, can we still have an intern? And while I said you can submit an application, I don't think that for the first job experience for someone that having something that's completely virtual would work. But based on what you're describing, is it an intern where it's one day a week that they're meeting with you in a space that you provide, even if it's at a coffee shop and you're providing them a laptop and you're meeting with them or whatever it might be. And then they're with you on the weekends. And so really the job, if you will, is largely weekend based. There are a handful of students who said that they're looking for something that is more at the weekend because that's when they have access to transportation. So that could work. It could also work that if we're looking for someone who might have to do independent work, that maybe one of the requirements that you request, Ms. Keaton, is that maybe this shouldn't be the first experience. So maybe we don't give you one of the 15-year-olds, right? We don't match you with a 15-year-old, but maybe we match you with a recent graduate. So our program is a little bit different from the city and county in that we are allowing, like, if you just graduated from high school, not quite yet to college, if you're 19, you're living in this space, maybe this is your first job before going to college. And so that could be an acceptable experience, but definitely want you to think through how might you supervise them if in fact your hours, if you don't have like an actual workplace business. Give a little bit more thought to that. So maybe it is that your hours are Saturday event, they're going to get a full 8 hours. And then during the week, we're going to do 2 touch points at 4 hours, 4 hours each thing. So that's a full hours of just maybe 16 hours a week. We try to push you more closer to that 18 hours so that it's beneficial for the young people. But there are kids who are looking for something that's a little bit less intensive.
Okay, we definitely have plenty for them to do. So I think we'll reach the hour mark when it comes to the event planning. And so we started to think through a lot as far as like the projects, and we're excited about that part. But I know it asks for like an office address, and then, we're open, like we can do it at the library or, like book some meeting rooms and spaces there. But we just wanted to be sure, like, did we have to have like a permanent physical, like steady place, or is it just like week by week, we can choose to, meet at different locations?
I definitely think having the flexibility in this day and age, like this is the world of entrepreneurial spirits now, right? You don't have that set up. For me personally, I run my home-based business right out of my home.
Mm-hmm.
Do I want an intern in here, or would I want to mix them up elsewhere? Now, my clients if I'm working with them, they have office space. So I think that showing young people that businesses don't always look the same, They're not 9 to 5 Monday through Friday. And that some very thriving businesses do occur at coffee shops or at space that you're able to book. You can just pitch it out right here that we have some great partners that have co-working space out there. From like the Hub to the Domi Station to Any to like there's a handful of places that you can find some of that working space. So I think that's a really creative idea, and I commend you on trying to make it work and giving some of our young people an authentic experience.
Yeah, they will definitely have a time when it comes to the things, both like watch view and behind the scenes. So okay, I appreciate
Awesome.
it.
Perfect. Great question. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Any other questions? I know that there's still some people on, so.
Maybe they just stepped away. Y'all feel free to pipe up if you have one. I was just going to ask you real quick, Holly, you mentioned about the ones who don't have a bank account. Did you want to, I was wondering if like an Envision or someone, were you going to have someone come where they could set up an account?
Yes.
Okay.
So we are I'm going to say shortlisting a handful of banks of in return for them setting up, like being willing to work with them to set it up, that they would also provide our financial literacy class. And so we have a handful, but as you know, Finacious with Aspire is going to be our coordinator. So we have like 3 holes that I think we're still trying to fill. So we're brainstorming on who those partners will be. So for the handful that don't have a bank account, we'll know in advance, and then we'll ask them to come prepared when they're coming to do their financial literacy. They would just pull them aside and get them set up. Make sure that they bring with them their IDs. Because they're under 18, they're going to have a co-signer with them. So like understanding all of those things, but that's going to be part of our pre-work in advance.
I love that. Okay, cool.
Yeah, we're really excited. I don't know where we'll land on which vendor. Like I said, we have a couple of feelers out there to give those opportunities. There's so many that are doing such great work. I think that the greatest feedback will making sure that like it's on a level here and not here for our young people to really understand and grasp.
Awesome. All right, well, I'm gonna go ahead and close the meeting, and if there's somebody who has something, speak up quick. Otherwise, they might have just walked away. All right, thank you, everyone. Bye.